Hello, world. Today is Monday, August 17th, 2026. This is a sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker, coming to you from the East Coast of the United States, Lexington, Kentucky. Over the weekend, we have experienced severe thunderstorms in this area. As I say, windows rattling and rain and things of that nature. We're scheduled for some more rain above 50% today between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. So let's get into the weather for this area. Morning thunderstorms, highs in the mid 80s and lows in the upper 60s. Today, the high will be 84 degrees. Over the past couple of days, the heat index has brought us in this area to maybe 106. So it's like 10 degrees above what the thermometer is saying. Storms continuing through 12 p.m. with an accumulation of 0.75 inches. Lala lashes Hawaii with rain, wind, and floods. Expect tomorrow to be the next no precipitation day, and temperatures noticeably lower than yesterday, down by 11 degrees. Currently, outside conditions for activities, running is poor, cycling is poor, and gardening is poor. Currently, the AQI is good at 28. Pollen, tree, none. Grass is low, and ragweed is none. Right now, the UV index is low, and it feels muggy, with a light breeze of 6 miles per hour. Today, sunrise was at 6:54 a.m., and sunset will be at 8:28 p.m. Other weather-related news: storm wrecks Ohio gas station canopy. Floods carry merch out of Indiana store. Entire villages buried by Indonesian quake. There's been an earthquake over 7.1 magnitude, I think, Colombia, and then there's been another one. Entire villages buried by Indonesia quake. Eerie storm clouds move in over Cape May. So those are your weather-related items for today, Monday, August 17th. Over the weekend in sports, baseball, Major League Baseball. LA Dodgers were at Milwaukee Brewers, came away LA 2, Milwaukee 6. Preseason football, Philadelphia Eagles at the Baltimore Ravens. This surprised me because the last couple of games have really been nail-biters at the end. But in this one, the Eagles went all the way to the final minutes of the fourth quarter before they scored. Ravens 24, Eagles 7. Little League Baseball starts Wednesday, August 19th. Over the weekend, for all you cowboys and cowgirls, PBR, professional bull riding. Also, there was professional golf. And for all you wrestling fans, you have your weekly wrestling matchups. I think Triple H was on this week past. And I also need to, as I say, give a shout out to the WOW, Women of Wrestling. Not so much this year, but last year, quite a few of those women stopped by to say hi. So I'm going to take this opportunity to say I appreciate that. Here in Lexington, 6 months of no homicides by gun ended over the weekend. 1 dead, 4 injured after mass shooting at park. Suspect in custody. So the police department and Lexington 1 are working with the community on that one. I had mentioned previously about food recalls, and I had particularly dated that information from the beginning of 2026 to now, and I was going to pass you some information related to that. And the list that I had found before was it's not like I go looking for things. I just scroll like so many people do and run across items. But that particular list that I had not only listed the food or the food item, but also listed what was wrong with it or what was the reason for the recall, and also what effect it would have on your health. So that's why one of the reasons why I was really interested in that list. But as it stands now, food recalls, again, checking sources, in 2026 have been driven primarily by bacterial contamination like Salmonella, Listeria, and Cyclospora in raw produce and eggs, alongside manufacturing oversights such as undeclared allergens, misbranding, and physical foreign objects like metal fragments. That's appeared in frozen foods. Continuing bacterial contamination, Salmonella, tied to major egg distributions from farms such as Midwest Poultry Services, and fresh produce ingredients like jalapenos used in prepared salsas. Listeria, found in dairy items like soft cheeses and ready-to-eat deli or salad spreads. Cyclosporia, linked via traceback investigations to imported raw agricultural products like Central Mexican iceberg lettuce. Manufacturing and handling errors, undeclared allergens, packaging or mixing errors leading to hidden ingredients like soy or peanuts omitted from product labels. Physical foreign objects, stray metal or machinery fragments accidentally introduced during commercial processing of frozen and packaged goods. Facility sanitation issues, severe warehouse and storage pest infestations such as rodent and bird waste, triggering massive multi-product safety recalls. So for any of these things, you can check active safety advisors directly on the USDA Food Safety and Inspection Service. So I just wanted to get that out there. Speaking of sports, I wanted to take a moment to bring this to your attention. And again, it's another one of those martial arts moments. But it's related to Taekwondo. The evolution of Taekwondo, how fighters are adapting to 2026 rules. The Koreans have decided that they would call their karate sport karate. And since 2000, they have been involved with the Olympics. And we have Olympics scheduled for 2028. So this information is timely in that sense. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to offend all those Taekwondo black belts that are out there, but there is a difference between Taekwondo, karate, kung fu, judo, jitsu, as considered to be self-defense. And then when you get into combat sports like MMA or kickboxing, then that's a whole nother different area as well. But let's get into this. You know, they have their protective gear, and these things are dictated by the International Taekwondo Federation as well as World Taekwondo. So prior to the introducing of this equipment, you had like a referee and you had two judges, and the judges were the ones that called the points. So let's get into this. On January 1, 2026, World Taekwondo posted its updated rules, which are what current athletes are following now. According to the competition rules or interpretation by the World Taekwondo Federation, the valid points are as follows. 1 point for a valid punch to the trunk protector, 2 points for a valid kick to the trunk protector, 3 points for a valid kick to the head. When a valid turning kick is delivered to the trunk protector or the head, the awarded points shall be doubled. 4 points for a valid turning kick to the trunk protector and 6 points for a valid turning kick to the head. 1 point awarded to the athlete when gam jam given to the opposing contestant. So now the suppliers of this equipment, the Theodore system, have been working these tournaments with a Gen 2 equipment. Theodore produces guards for the chest, shins, arms, hands, feet, and head. Each piece has sensors that allow the electronic scoring program to award points to the athletes while also protecting them from injury. Theodore works alongside World Taekwondo, so when improvements in technology are made, rule changes are made accordingly. Recently, Theodore released their Gen 3 version of their gear. Gen 3 is said to be lighter, allowing for increased comfort. Additionally, it's said to have better sensors on their socks, foot guards, and gloves, enabling better detection of kicks and punches. Gen 2 was the most commonly used gear in past years, but the introduction of Gen 3 replaced it as the most used gear in official and high-level competitions. Hitting the sensors in the right spot, even with little power, can score athletes points. Athletes who compete learn where to hit these sensors, what kicks to focus on, along with learning to read their opponent and how to move accordingly. This way of fighting strays away from its roots as a martial art, but it also demonstrates how this sport is evolving in response to growth in technology. I also wanted to add this point. With Taekwondo, you see a lot of athletic demonstrations, aerial kicks, breaking boards, and all this is all part of their tournament activities, but it's not what you would interpret to be a self-defense techniques. And I'm kind of familiar with this idea of sensors, and this is just a personal point from me. I was able to purchase from one of the department stores a kickboxing dummy, but it has an electronic attachment where you can take it from boxing to kickboxing and just from kicks alone. And it sets it on a timer, and it also keeps account of how many punches were thrown, how many punches you scored, and what your overall percentage was in punches and kicks that actually hit the sensors. So I have that. So I know it's not the easiest thing, but I did okay. I did okay. So without throwing any numbers out there. So this is brand new. So I wanted to get it out there. We have the Olympics again coming in 2028. So all you Taekwondo participants that are preparing for the Olympics, be aware. I'm quite sure they will pass. If they have not already, we'll be passing those changes along. Here in Fayette County, this has to do with the Fayette County schools. The title of this article is Fayette County School Superintendent Announces Retirement Amid Financial Crisis. This is one of those things that's kind of back and forth and so forth and so on. I'll give you the details in a minute. And in a lot of instances, you will see that race card hit the table. but it's not like 3 18-year-old young black men being found dead in different locations, or 2 young black women on different occasions being found hanging from a tree in Mississippi. It's kind of like a mixed opinion, like you have a day where it's no rain, no precipitation, and somebody look up and say it's a nice day, the sky is blue. Somebody else might comment and say, wow, those clouds are really beautiful, look how they're moving. And then you have the third one, not a cloud in the sky. So I have been watching this for a while, and I just refrained from commenting on it because it was like active and all that kind of stuff. So let's take it from the top. Before school closed, we just came through the winter, and the winter was kind of severe. You had school closed for multiple days, but as the National Weather Service reported, winters like that come in 10-year cycles. So, the roads were impassable at times, and the city had to work extra hard to clear back streets and things of this nature. And for the safety of the students, there were days missed due to snow days. So it was about this time, before the school closed, that Superintendent Liggins discovered, and there's one thing about kicking rocks and turning over rocks, discovered that there was a representative from the Kentucky Congress working as an administrative assistant to one of the board members to Fayette County Schools. And not only was she doing this, the name was given, it might be in this report, not only was she doing this, but she was doing it remotely. So he inquired about it. That kind of hit the media a little bit. And then it was shortly after that, school closed, hit the summer, he applied for leave. Out of that, somehow or another, the board took it to be his resignation. And if you ever work state or federal, you know that your leave accumulates per pay period. And you can just put in a, request to leave, whatever the reason, and take it, And the 2 slips, how you can confuse putting in a request for time off with a resignation letter is still beyond me. But anyway, the board went back and forth about him having this resignation. A couple other things were said. They had a picture of him in the hallway by himself with some other comments related to that. Then they appointed an interim superintendent. And all the time, they're going back and forth about his resignation. And so they finally kind of let that settle. And from there, because it got extended, because I'm like saying to myself, well, it's just like if you say I need a day off to go to the doctor and, you just come back in and have your seat. But apparently things had gotten beyond that point with Superintendent Liggins. So he got an attorney and went to the AG, the Attorney General, who oversees what happens with the school board as far as saying whether they are right in their proceedings or wrong in their proceedings. So the Attorney General says, well, you're right in coming to me about this matter, but, I can say, because I can say whether they are right or wrong or following the correct procedures in your case. But if you have an attorney and this goes to court, then it's going to take months to resolve, or even could be extended to years before they make a decision. And as long as you are pursuing that aspect of it or that angle of it, I cannot render a decision. So there was a few statements, from superintendent's attorney, and then they kind of resolved that. And the whole time that this is going, so at this point, they appointed an acting superintendent, Brown. And if I'm not mistaken, the administrative assistant was assigned to him, who was working remotely in that position. So now we're into the summer, and all this time, there's conversations about the finances of the school board, what's happening, who's spending money doing what, unnecessary trips, necessary trips, all these other types of things. They even said something about the superintendent taking a trip, but I'm pretty sure, being as it was not education related, that he might have just had some vacation time. So the one thing that kept striking me was $60 million. You know, $60 million. And I'm still not clear if they wanted $16 million, they needed $16 million, or they were short $16 million, or they were looking for $16 million. And the thing about it is, when he came into the position in 2021, finances were already, being questioned and how those things were being handled. And most recently, I think the school board borrowed $112,000 to make payroll. So it's really a lot of convoluted stuff. But it all comes from, and then there's a little bit of undercurrent with all of this too. I'm not even going to speak to that. So now he filed his resignation, but according to the article, if I can find it, and if it's not in this one, and that budget is dating back to 2008. And then they had a downgraded credit report from Moody's Ratings. And he said he was going to retire after 26 years in education. So he thanked Fayette County and everybody else that, gave a good year and participated in everything that had to do with the progress of the students and of Fayette County in regards to education. So in June, district leaders announced that Liggins allegedly sent a letter of resignation, only to rescind it, saying he never intended to resign, but to file a separation agreement. Because he was saying, well, just pay me while I'm off. So because of this, his resignation is stated as resigning as a whistleblower. So, and he did win the Education Award, Superintendent of the Year in 2026. So it's, as they say, it's a lot going on here. You got to kind of keep track of it and so forth and so on. But we will see how all this plays out, I guess like so many places, Fayette County has their ways as well. So I just wanted to speak to that one. And the other thing, whenever there was any, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to let it go. The other thing, whenever they were showing short videos of the school board meeting and with him being present, they did not show him speaking. It was just him sitting there and other board members commenting, but never with him speaking. Now with this acting superintendent that's in place now, Brown, I think his name is, every time there's a short video about the school board, he's the one talking. He's the one talking. So we'll see how it goes. Next one. Jamaica, Caribbean's largest bauxite producer, plans to use Louisiana refinery to help Ghana build its aluminum industry in $60 million deal. Jamaica, the Caribbean's largest bauxite producer, is turning back to Africa 21 years after promising to help Ghana build an alumina refinery, as the two countries move to revive a decades-old bauxite and alumina trade relationship through a proposed $60 million deal. Jamaica and Ghana are negotiating to revive their decades-old bauxite and alumina trading relationship with a potential $60 million deal. The agreement aims to help Ghana capture more value from its bauxite resources and reduce dependence on imported alumina. The deal involves Jamaican bauxite being refined in Louisiana, USA, then shipped as alumina to Ghana for aluminum production. This agreement could significantly expand bilateral trade and support Ghana's long-standing goal of creating an integrated aluminum industry. Oftentimes, considering today's society, speaking about money, how much is enough? You have multi-billionaires like Elon Musk who are tipping the scales toward being trillionaires. At one time, being a millionaire was enough. And for those of us with regular jobs and employment, being able to pay the bills, as I said, keeping it real simple, food, shelter, and clothing. But it always, kind of smooths your ego if you can have a few extra dollars in your pocket. So this next article that I'm going to share with you deals with that aspect. Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Rwanda lead the top 10 African countries with the lowest income needed to reach peak happiness in 2026. Africa dominates the lower end of a new global ranking on the income needed to reach peak life satisfaction, with Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Rwanda among the countries where people need comparatively less money to reach the point where higher earnings add little to well-being. Africa has the lowest income thresholds needed to reach income satiation for well-being, with Ethiopia at just $10,176 a year. Rising income improves happiness up to a point, after which further earnings have little additional effect, according to Purdue University's research. Remitly's 2026 report adjusts income thresholds for inflation and local purchasing power, showing vast global differences. City-level costs can be much higher than national averages, and the income needed for happiness does not always align with average earnings or economic performance. A 2026 analysis by Remitly puts Ethiopia's annual price of happiness at $10,176, the lowest among 123 countries studied, followed by Nigeria at $12,273, Rwanda at $13,566, and Mauritania at $14,732, replacing several African economies firmly at the lower end of the global ranking. The contrast with wealthier markets is substantial, with Ethiopia's threshold about 91% lower than Canada's $113,755, 86% below China's $71,201, and more than 92% below the United States at $134,827, underscoring how differently income translates into purchasing power across economies. And recently, I shared here on a sideshow about HBCUs, Howard in particular, pushing for their graduates to be able to receive incomes in six figures, starting at $100,000. Remitly based the ranking on Purdue University research into income satiation, the point at which further increases in income stop producing meaningful gains in subjective well-being. Importantly, the ranking does not measure which countries are happiest, but rather the income level at which additional earnings begin to contribute less to life satisfaction. I just thought I would share that because it hit me a little bit different. And then there's a list that goes with that as well. So that's the news. Again, this is the Sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker. Today is Monday, August 17, 2026. That's it. Hashtag.